Okay, this is like my third attempt at starting this. It's so weird. I've never done a podcast before, so I really have no idea how to introduce this. So I guess I'll just, start with, hey, my name's Lewis. This is the second episode of Pure Grade Puroresu. So I did my debut episode last week. It was, I finished it. I recorded it at like 6 a.m. after watching Wrestle Kingdom, and sticking true to what I said, I'm not just going to be focusing on New Japan because despite my satire in the first episode, there are way too many New Japan podcasts, and I wanted to be that person in the market who covers a range of pro wrestling promotions, and a promotion that I've followed for a while now is Noah. And I always have an issue with Noah because, if you thought New Japan was bad at just being a second half heavy promotion, then Noah's even worse. Like, I've tried to follow Noah like twice before, and both in 2017 and in 2018, I followed Noah for the first half of the year, and then I sort of just fell off during like the middle period, and I'd always join up back again around the Global League time. And this year with this podcast, I really want to follow Noah more closely, because whenever I do follow Noah, even the matches that aren't good, I always get into some of the wrestlers, like the like Hajime Ohara, or even though it sounds crazy, even like Misawa Inoue. Like, I actually get joy out of watching them, even if they're not putting on like 3.5 star plus matches. So, hopefully I'm going to finally stick with following Noah in 2019, because, hopefully this podcast will keep me on track where I'll be like, oh, there's a big show, I should probably review that for my, 0 followers on all platforms. But you know what? I'm having fun. Don't need the followers. You know what? Don't want them. Probably won't publish this episode Anyways, let's get into the review of the first big Noah show of 2019, Navigation for the Future 2019 Day 1. So, we started off with 2 Young Lion matches. So, the two Young Lions, the new Young Lions for Noah, there is Kiyomiya Okada, which is the third, as people have pointed out, he's the third Okada in a major Japanese pro wrestling promotion. And the other Young Lion is Yoshiki Inamura. And Kiyomiya Okada was meant to actually debut alongside Inamura a few months ago, and I believe it was on the previous Korakuen Hall show before this Navigation for the Future show that Kiyomiya Okada came out, and he was like, he had some announcer, and they basically said, oh yeah, I got injured, I think, so please look forward to my debut next month, which is now. And so he faced off with Masa Kitamiya. And it's always fun watching the young lions of any promotion, because pro wrestling promotions, they really try to hit you over the head with the fact that young lions are, in kayfabe, just terrible wrestlers. Like, they're always throwing forearms. Like, their main 2 attacks are forearms and drop kicks. And if they somehow manage to get you down to the ground, they'll probably throw on a Boston Crab, as we all know. Or maybe a single leg Boston Crab. And so it's adorable just watching, Kiyomiya Okada try to go at Kitamiya. It's funny because Kitamiya is this massive dude, and I remember, I've seen matches of his from 2012 when he was still in Kensuke Office and Diamond Ring, and he was about as skinny as Kiyomiya Okada is here. And so this was a total squash. As I said, Okada got a few forearms in, but Kitamiya mostly just brushed it off, and then he just hit the spear and put the poor young lion out of his misery. Then we got our second match, our second Young Lion match, and Inamura, of all people, was going up against Takashi Sugiura. How's that for a Young Lions match early in the night? So as I said, Inamura, I don't know if I said this or not. Either way, Inamura is much bigger than Okada, but that didn't change the fact that I was still like, you know what, Sugiura is still gonna murder this kid. And then I was really surprised, because Inamura, he puts out his hand, and Sugiura actually goes up to it and he's like, you know what, I'm going to shake this kid's hand. So, it's like, did Sugiura losing the GHC heavyweight title, does that, change him as a man? Is he going to look after the Noah youth because, Kiyomiya has made him realize just how powerful they are? Probably not. It was just him being, he's almost at 50, so it's probably just him, deciding, you know what, I'm in a bloody opening match. This kid's probably going to try to prove himself. I'm just going to be, a good guy today. And he was pretty laid back at the start. He wasn't going into his whole killing machine persona, but then Inamura started getting quite a lot of offense in, and he was actually getting up in his face. And you'd think this was something I was noticing. It plays into the whole idea of how wrestling promotions want their young lions to limit their offense so that they just, not only just so they master the basics, but also once they finally, are promoted from being young lions, then there's actually a way bigger contrast between their skill level that actually, makes the fans think, oh, wow, there really is a difference between being a young lion from the dojo and really being like a true main roster member. But that brings us to what I was going to say, because the young lions, they never throw strikes to the seniors' faces. It's always like forearms, just to just below the clavicle, just on the pec. And you'd think in kayfabe, like the young lions would realize, oh, I'd actually have a higher chance of doing damage if I actually hit them in the face. But maybe in kayfabe you could argue it's still like an honor thing, or like where they're like, oh, this is my senior, I can't hit them in the face, even if we're still having a wrestling match. And so maybe that's a kayfabe excuse for it. Anyways, this is another pretty quick match. Segura sort of fired up. He never really teed off on him, but he did like up his pace, and he ended up getting a guillotine finish. And I actually did give this match a rating. I just gave it 2.25 star, just because I'm like I said, I'm a sucker for young lion matches, especially when you get an interesting match like a young lion up against like a big veteran. Like in New Japan, I'm interested in like the like Shoto Aminos and Ren Naretas up against like Yuji Nagata or Kojima's. If we ever get those matches, I'm always keen on those. Then we had our first tag team match. It was High 69 and Minoru Tanaka, the previous GHC Junior Tag Champs, up against Atsushi Kotoge and Misawa Inoue. Basically, Kotoge and Inoue is just a full-on comedy team, I guess. Because Inoue, I used to hate him because he was just pure comedy, and the joke was, haha, he's so shit at this. But he's actually grown on me just because he always has that, sly smile about him, and the fans always get into him. So it's like, everyone, including himself, is aware that he's like a shit wrestler. And I don't know, I pop when like he goes up to the top rope and like he tries to do a move and he just falls off so flimsily. And I don't know, he's sort of like Taguchi, where I used to hate Taguchi, but then I actually realized, not saying that Taguchi's comedy is as good as Inoue's, because it's absolutely not. Hey, this is me in post. Just wanted to say I misspoke here. I was speaking a bit too quickly, got carried away. Meant to say that Inoue's comedy is nowhere near as good as Taguchi's. Glad I could clear that up. Please enjoy the rest of your listening. But I realized, oh, there actually is value in bringing this, to a wrestling show, especially if it's not like in the big matches on the card. Anyways, Kotoge, he's also a comedy wrestler, to at least to me, because he comes out in the bloody cape, and I've been reading translations online. Apparently his gimmick is that he's like a revolutionary superhero, and like he runs around the ring, doing the Superman pose. And I think it's adorable because, Kotoge is like a little guy, and he's obviously having fun with the gimmick, and, the majority of the crowd gets into it. But I miss the Kotoge that I saw when I first started watching Noah, which was, he comes out, he's sort of cold-faced, like he's still having fun, but he's mostly cold-faced. And then once he's really, being pushed to his limit, he brings out that disgusting headbutt. I wonder if that's why they've changed him to the superhero comedy gimmick, because it was like, Kotoge, okay, sit down. We can't have you fucking headbutting everyone and busting Shiozaki up every single match, okay? We need to change your character, so we're going to make you a joke. But he's still like a decent wrestler overall. I'm still like enjoying like his general offense, but it's like, damn, I wish we got Killer Kotoge back. Anyways, let's see what other notes did I have? So playing off of the Kotoge thing, Minoru at one point, he takes Kotoge's cape, and the crowd pop big for that. That was actually, ironically, probably one of the biggest moments of this match, sadly. This was a 2-star special. It wasn't really anything. It was just Noah saying, okay, who do we have on the roster? Who do we probably need to pay at some point this week? Who do the fans probably not mind seeing? Let's throw them out there. Minoru, he always impresses. It's crazy. He's in his mid-40s, and he's doing stuff that he's been doing stuff that people half his age in the same promotion aren't even doing, Like, he's way more athletic than, Hayata, Yohei, Tadasuke, possibly even Katara. I'd say he's probably, more athletic. And it's funny because I've been going back and watching his, matches from like the early and late 90s and early 2000s, and I honestly think he's just improved. I don't think he's actually lost anything in his age. He just seems, his conditioning is just so good that it just seems that he's only just gained, if anything. Anyways, the crowd was incredibly quiet for all of these interactions. Whenever Minoru would do like, a nice little acrobatic move or something, or like a swift kick or a strike or anything, they'd politely clap, but that was pretty much it. Inoue was the other saving grace of this match, as sad as that is to say, just because he's funny. I mean, what can I say? The dude is funny. Like, there's a moment when he gets tagged in and he's doing his typical wind up the arm spot, like winding up as if, I'm gonna, like in a cartoon like a cartoon from like the 50s with a character being like, I'm gonna wind up my arm and somehow that's gonna add more damage to it once I finally unleash it. But then instead of unleashing the fist or whatever, he just goes for a cover. That was a pretty good moment. And he got the crowd into it. Him and Minoru, I'd say, were like the main appeals of this match. I also have entertaining Inoue versus Kotoge moments. To be honest, I can't actually remember the interactions between the much lauded after interactions between Misawa Inoue and Atsushi Kotoge. I can't remember them, but I made a note of it. So having already said at the start of this that they were good comedy wrestlers, I'm sure if you watch this, there's probably some good comedy interactions between them. Not much more I can say about this. Also see at high 69, he put the cape on and he had a straight splash for the win. Yeah, he didn't really stand out much, but it's not to say that he's bad. He's a solid wrestler, but he always does better when he's higher up the card, I'd say. I think all of these guys, obviously, are much better higher up the card. That brings us to our next match. We had Hajime Ohara and Hitoshi Kamano versus Seiya Morihashi and Junta Miyawaki. Or is it Yunta? Is it pronounced with a Y? Who cares? Anyways, into the match. This is one of the matches where I won't spend 10 minutes going on about the wrestlers themselves, because, I don't think you guys need a history of the wrestlers before I actually judge their match, but you know what? I'm a bit nervous. I'm just doing the review how I do it, so just deal with it, okay? Give me a break, guys. Come on. Ohara, he's probably my favorite Noah Jr., and it's the reason why, because he's such a great all-rounder, It's sad to bring this up, but he reminds me of Kushida, because he's really adept, whatever that word is. He's very good at grappling. And he's also great at just like high flying, striking. He's pretty much the whole package. He was actually he just won the junior title at the start of 2017 when I first got into Noah, and I remember he had a really great match with Taiji Ishimori, which was the main reason why he's been like my favorite, because he was the guy who impressed me most when I first started, diligently watching. So yeah, he had some nice grappling, and I was really surprised to see Junta Miyawaki. He's the Noah young lion who's been around for the longest. I think I'm pretty sure there's only 3 Noah young lions at the moment. Yeah, so there's Miyawaki, Okada, and Inamura. And for the longest time, Miyawaki has never really impressed me. He's just gone out there, and it's funny because he looks like a young lion from All Japan's 80s and 90s period, and he sort of wrestled like that. He was sort of dull. He'd do the typical fire up spots, and the crowd would get behind him. They'll all chant Junta, Junta. But I never got into him until this very match, and I think it's because of the layout. Because as I was saying, Ohara is very good at grappling, and this actually allowed Miyawaki to show off his grappling. And this was the first time I'd actually seen anything unique from Miyawaki, and I was actually very impressed with his style. And after the match, even though I'm jumping right to the end of this match, not that it's that important that I need to cover everything about it, but at the end of the match, Ohara got on the mic, and apparently, according to translations online, he was basically saying that he was impressed with Miyawaki's progression, and I guess I can add myself to that opinion now after seeing him, at least for this match. And Ohara said, "We will offer you a junior tag team title match, but like basically you have to prove it first." So I'm wondering where that's leading us to. So I'm thinking it's probably we're just gonna continue having matches where Miyawaki is going to face off against Ohara and Kamano, or at least against Ohara, and Ohara's probably going to continue being on the winning side, and Miyawaki's probably going to continue taking the pin over and over. But maybe then eventually Miyawaki will. I don't think he'll actually ever pin Ohara or Kamano, but he'll probably give like a really, really good performance, maybe on a big show in like the first quarter of the year or so. And that's probably what will allow him to to convince Ohara and Kamano to give him a shot. Another thing that surprised me in this match, in a good way, was Morohashi. He is the freelancer that Inoue have been using for quite a while, and sort of like with Miyawaki, he hadn't really impressed me for the majority of the time I'd been watching him. He felt like just a total generic freelancer that Inoue had hired because they were like, we need someone to fill out this card, so you know what? What's your rate? Yep, we can afford that. Just jump on in. And in these last few shows, like this show, and then there was a Korakuen show in early December as well. In those two shows, he has been totally different to what I've seen from him before. Like, he's pulling out a way more stiff offense with his strikes and just his general power moves, like his suplexes. And I'm actually excited to see him now. And so, yeah, he went from being sort of like Miyawaki, just not being on the radar at all, to actually being, a decent wrestler, at least in my mind. And so, it'd be interesting if he is who Miyawaki decides to, or is lucky enough to be allowed to team up with to challenge for the GHC Junior Tag Titles. That'd be pretty cool. I'd be interested in that. For the match itself, it was a pretty good match. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. The backbreakers are the backbreakers. They're awesome. As their name goes, their matches are always going to have like a decent level of psychology, because they break backs, and so it makes for an interesting style because you've got Ohara, who's the smaller, speedier member of the team, and he's still quite strong, but obviously not as strong, at least in kayfabe, as Kamano, because Kamano's obviously like the junior bruiser. He's the one who's more likely to throw someone around, or like with that finish of the beer bottom, those sort of moves that target the back. Whereas Ohara is the one who's more likely to do some something off the ropes that leads to a back attack. This was one of the reasons that I think they're going to give Miyawaki the slight push, is because, well, not a reason I should say, but an indication of just how much of a push they're going to give him, is that in this match he got quite a few hope spots. So there were like a few moments where he'd hit like a Northern Light suplex or a sunset flip and an armbar, and he'd get a decent near falls on those moves, or like a close submission call with that armbar. And I actually bit on that armbar sequence because I believe he had it on Kamano. Whoever it was, I think it was Kamano he hit it on, and just as I was watching Kamano's, or whoever it was, I'm pretty sure it was Kamano, just as I was watching Kamano's facial expressions and like the ref like shaking his head being like, oh, you're gonna give up, I was like, holy shit, this actually looks like a genuine moment where they might just decide to push up a young lion with like a single moment like this. Obviously it didn't end up happening. Backbreakers were dominant at the end, and there was a beer bottom from Kamano on Miyawaki to put him away. Side note, beer bottom, weird name, at least for us Westerners, us English speakers, but anyways, hits the beer bottom on Miyawaki, and Ohara has the Moi Bien on Morohashi at the same time to stop him breaking it up. I thought this is a very, very good match, not only just because Morohashi continued to impress, and not only just because Miyawaki, I keep forgetting, is it Miyawaki? Yeah. I know his name is Miyawaki, but for some reason when I say it out loud, I keep thinking it's something else. But yeah, Miyawaki impressed me as well for the first time, in ever. And the backbreakers were just very good in general. So, technically a skippable match, but if you're like me and you're into the backbreakers, then I'd say this is, you should watch this. God, this next match this is a hard pass. This is the grimiest match possible. So you've got the Hooligans, the recently formed stable, which was Cody Hall, Kazuma Sakamoto, and Mitsuya Nagai, up against Akitoshi Saito and Muhammad Yone and Quiet Storm, the 50 Funky Powers. Now, I know in all these matches I've been given a big, build up. Basically, I'm writing the entire biography of all these wrestlers, being like, okay, so this guy, he started off in blah, 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 and he's done this for the last 2 years. And then I'm finally talking about the match, which is probably what everyone's, watching this or listening to this. They're like, come on, just review the bloody match already, Lewis. But just very quickly, I do not like the 50 Funky Powers at all. I find the gimmick incredibly painful to sit through. Quiet Storm is incredibly cringy. I know he gets support from the fans, but I just can't get into him, and I feel like he just drags Muhammad Yone down, because Yone is like really good when he's like singles, when he's not messing around doing his, faux disco stuff. Like in singles matches he goes hard out, he goes stiff as hell. But and sometimes he does that with Quiet Storm, but I just don't think they're good together. Anyways, luckily, I don't have much to say about this match, because it was a typical messy arena brawl to start with. You had the typical long delayed ref count, and it seemed like Hooligans should have gotten the win at that very moment. Even Cody Hall sort of, like gestured to that, because he got in the ring and he's like, hey, come on, why is no one giving us the win? But luckily, we just got a quick DQ finish. I was put out of my misery. I didn't have to sit through another bloody 50 Funky Powers match, and just a terrible brawl from the Hooligans. I actually like the Hooligans. Like, I don't think they're great. I don't think they're necessarily even good, but I like Cody. He's really grown on me. He never really impressed me back in New Japan, and obviously he got injured at some like show at the beginning of 2016, I think, somewhere around there, and then he ended up showing up in Noah, and it took a while for him to impress me in Noah, but I enjoy his work now, and obviously having Hino there is enjoyable. And Kazuma Sakamoto, I've been watching some of his stuff in Dragon Gate, and he's way better there, and I don't mind him now. And I'm still not a fan of Mitsuya Nagai. It's funny, I've been watching some of Mitsuya Nagai's stuff in Rings. I've been watching like Rings from I think it's 1991 and like 92. I think I've been watching, and It's funny because he basically looks the same, just with the hair shaved. Like, it really is true about the Japanese. You don't really see them age that much between like 20 to 40, but it's like in the late 40s is really... Why am I even talking about this? Why am I suddenly talking about when Japanese wrestlers start aging? Anyways, Hooligans. Not a big fan, but don't mind them. 50 Funky Powers. Don't like them, but I like Yone. Check out this match if you just don't value your time. After this, we had Marufuji return, and I'm a terrible podcaster because I can't remember exactly when or how Marufuji got injured, but the important thing is that he is returning for a show in the start of February, and I'm hit or miss on Marufuji. Like, when he's great, Marufuji is insanely great. He's honestly one of the best wrestlers in the world when he tries. A lot of the time he just tries to just surf on his... Is that the right term? He tries to surf. He tries to just make do with his signature moves. He hits that those kicks in the corner. He does a few Ko-o knees. I think that's what they're called, Ko-o knees. And he just does all those signature moves, and he doesn't really put much effort into it. But obviously, a Noah show is usually always better with Marufuji on it, so it'll be good to have him back. For the third to last match of the show, we had the Rattels boys, Daisuke Harada, Tadasuke, and Hayata, minus Yohei, after Yohei turned on them at the Great Voyage in Yokohama Volume 2 show. I read that apparently the reason why Yohei turned on the rest of Rattels was because since Harada was champion, Harada had been given, matches to all the other members. Had given a match to Hayata and Tadasuke, but he hadn't given one to Yohei, and I guess that's a believable, character motivation for Yohei to be like, in his mind, hey, I thought we're all mates. You're giving all the other members of Rattels title shots, and we're still staying friends with all them. And you're not holding grudges against them after the match. But why aren't you giving me one? So I still think it's a bit like there should have been way more of a build up to Yohei turning on them, because I didn't see, like, I was building up to watching this navigation show. I was watching the last few Noah shows from 2018, and I wasn't seeing any hints of Yohei, like planting the seeds of him turning or anything. So it really felt like it came out of nowhere at the Great Voyage show. But anyways, he's here in this match, and he's teaming with Ogawa and Kotaro, and they're the two people that he basically aligned him with at the end of the Great Voyage in Yokohama show, because Harada had just beaten Kotaro, and Ogawa comes out, and the crowd oohs and ahs because they think that Ogawa's going to challenge. But then it turns out that it's Yohei that suddenly springs into action and takes out the entire team. And so I guess he's aligned with Ogawa and Kotaro. And I mean, look at this unit: Yohei, Ogawa, and Kotaro. And just a side note, I make a lot of side notes to these podcasts. Anyways, side note, I refer to Kotaro Suzuki as Kotaro just because, like, I'm sorry, I guess I'm just a New Japan fanboy. When I think of Suzuki, I think of the guy with random shit shaved into his hair who hits people really hard. That's who I think of. So I'm sorry. But anyways, Kotaro is a cool name. He should be lucky to be called Kotaro. He should, be thanking me. But yeah, this is a really cool unit because Yohei was always my favorite member of Ratels. Well, right now I'd say it's probably Harada, but he always felt like a bit detached because he joined Ratels rather late, if I remember correctly. But Yohei was always technically my favorite. I like his style, and I like the arrogance he brings as opposed to Hayata. Like, at the start, I had difficulty differentiating them because, obviously Hayata is the quiet one and Yohei is the much louder one. So, I enjoy watching Yohei, and I am excited that he's broken from Ratels because, I think he can show off way more as a singles wrestler. But even in this new team with Ogawa and Kotaro, that's going to be really cool because Ogawa is, a really, really solid veteran with, very good psychology, as I'll touch on in the match. And Kotaro is, I think he was Noah born, wasn't he? I think that's the term they use for people who grew up in the Noah system. I'm pretty sure he was, and then he left for All Japan, and then he went freelancer, and he's been returning, and so there's that edge about him where he's still like a great high flyer, but he also likes to play the controlling heel who like wears down the opponent with submissions and sort of gets the crowd to hate him. So this is a really cool team. And anyways, once again, I've taken way too long to get to a match. I've been given a big build up to it, but I think it adds texture to the review. Okay. So, match started. We had all of Ratels going right after Yohei. The announcers, throwing out the names, and Harada leads the charge, and they all start stomping down on Yohei, and Yohei's almost trying to like remain tranquilo-ish, I guess. Like he's taking the beating and he's selling he's being in pain, but he's also sort of like with Naito where he's not really taking the beating seriously, even if he's clearly in pain. He's sort of like laughing it off, like, oh god, this hurts, but what hurts even more is that I have to put up with you. Haha. It's that sort of I guess what do you call it? Is that sort of feeling I get from watching Yohei. And that's also what makes him compelling because, it's that typical sort of edginess from a wrestler where they're like, I'm not going to take this match seriously, but obviously I'm still going to try, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Is that just really contrived, monotonous way of explaining something? Anyways, this match was really good. So obviously there's a focus on Yohei and Harada because Yohei's he faces off with Harada. Harada's doing his best to just like stand up to him, be like, hey, fuck you, you left our stable. We're gonna give you a big beating for this. But Yohei kept relying on Ogawa and Kotaro to come in and help him out. There are even like a few moments where Harada would get like, the heroic tag in for the match, and he ran into the ring, and all three members of the opposing team had like left, and they got a pretty big reaction from the crowd. And for the end of the match, Harada's really fighting. He's doing a great job, basically fighting 3 versus 1 because Ogawa, Kotaro, and Yohei have basically thrown Tadasuke and Hayata outside the ring multiple times. But in the end, Kotaro and Ogawa are able to just continuously beat Harada down and leave him just, pray for Yohei to put him away with, I feel like he calls it Meteora, or is that some other wrestler's move that I've just got that's just sprung to mind right now? But he hits him with some top rope move. I think it was like double knees, sort of like Shima's move. God, this is a terrible review. I can't even remember how the match finished. Anyways, it's not like it was that important a match. But yeah, this was really enjoyable because you've got like 6 great, just fantastic juniors. Tadasuke, Hayata, solid. Harada, Yohei, Kotaro, I'd say great. And Ogawa is really interesting because when I first started, again, I'm gonna go into the backstory of wrestlers as opposed to reviewing a match. But Ogawa is really interesting because when I first started watching his stuff in Noah, I thought he was really boring and slow, but as I've been watching his matches, I've been realizing that he's actually so great because he brings a very unique style, and he actually puts so much psychology into his match. Like he actually managed to stand out in this match that was otherwise focused on high octane energy and people flying around and stiff shots, because he shows that edge of being a veteran where he's able to evade and counter a bunch of moves from these younger guys. Like someone will they do the move where they throw him into the ropes and then they set up for before a move, and he's able to read it, and like he'll give him like a double foot stomp to the back or something. And one thing that really impressed me, even though it was only a minor detail, was you see, it always annoys me when Kotaro Suzuki lines up his 619, or when anyone goes for the 619, when they trip an opponent onto the middle rope, and then they just take forever to run to the opposite rope to get the rebound, come back and hit the 619, boots to the face. But Ogawa, and again, I'm probably spending way too much time on what was just a little detail, but it really impressed me because Ogawa, he actually managed to walk over to the opponent who'd just been flung into the ropes. I believe it was Hayata, and he just held his head. He just held his head against the ropes just for a few seconds. And a lot of people would have totally missed this detail, not to sound elitist, but, no one would have really thought, oh, that's an important thing to consider. But it is, because it shows Ogawa's, veteran intelligence, because he knows that the fans are going to be thinking to themselves, okay, this is pro wrestling, but look, you fell on the ropes and you stayed there for like 10 whole seconds. You couldn't just stand up. And so Ogawa knew that, and so he just thought, I'm right by him. I can just hold his head against the ropes, and it can just add to that idea, that he can't escape from the ropes, and therefore that gives Kotaro more time to hit his move, and therefore it comes off as more believable. And again, probably didn't need to spend all that time going on about that, but it's just, that's why I enjoy Ogawa, because, he's been wrestling since, like the early 90s, I think, and he's just got so much experience. He never really wrestled a style that would damage him, damage his health or his movement, so he's still wrestling to this day, and it's just those extra little details that if so many other wrestlers could add those to their repertoire, that's the sort of, those little details are what push wrestlers from being good to great, because it shows care for the craft, where you're like, oh, I could just totally forget about this one detail of the match just because I got to get my next spot. But Ogawa goes the step beyond. Anyways, this is the good match. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. Again, you probably don't need to see this match, which is sadly the case with a lot of the Noah undercard. But again, if you're like me and you enjoy these wrestlers, of which I enjoy all of them, you should probably check this out. The semi-main event. Another side note, one of Lewis's trademark side notes is that he introduces into the podcast. Why is it that Japan refers to the second last match as the semi-main event? Because when I think of like semi, like it usually means, doesn't it mean half or something? Like, I think of like a semi-final, which is because, there are 2 semi-finals. That, you have 2 semi and 2 semi to make a final, I guess, but, and they refer to it as like the second to last. Anyways, the semi-final match, a rematch for the GHC heavyweight tag team titles between the champions of Maybach Taniguchi and Yuji Hino versus Go Shiozaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima. Now, again, I'm sorry. Look, if you haven't got the memo yet, I'm going to give a bit of background to the match before actually reviewing it. I was looking up the other day on Shiozaki's title history, because I was thinking to myself, since I started really following Noah at the start of 2017, he's been in so many tag teams. He's been with Maybach Taniguchi, he's been with Kiyomiya, he's been with Kotoge, and now after the titles got vacated, he was randomly put in a team with Nakajima. And I realized he's had, I think, 4 tag team title reigns, or maybe even 5, since 2017, the start of 2017. And they've all been like maybe a month at most. And it just really disappoints me, because like the only thing Noah really has going for it is their GHC heavyweight title. Like, that's the title that they actually give to people for a decent amount of time. But every other title just gets thrown around. Oh, sorry, I should also say the junior title. The junior title gets pretty well protected, but I would say the stories that they go into aren't that intriguing. But the GHC tag team titles could be so great if they just gave them, just give them to the likes of Nakajima or Shiozaki for a decent amount of time. Because, they won the titles on the previous Korakuen Hall show, I believe it was. And I was stoked because I love Shiozaki, and Nakajima has really grown on me ever since he became, a mustached, arrogant heel, because he didn't work as a babyface. But I was really stoked to see them as a tag team. And when I saw that they were going up against the Hooligans on the Great Voyage show, and that one of the members was going to be Yuji Hino in that Hooligans team, I knew they were going to lose. And of course they did. And I thought it was a decent match. And there was a lot of bad blood between the teams going into this match, obviously. And I also knew, again, that Hooligans were probably going to win. And sadly, they did. And that makes me sad because you don't just want the titles to get, hot potato back and forth, back and forth. So that made me pretty much realize, okay, I'm going to probably have to be happy with Taniguchi and Hino having these titles for a while. And, this ended up being a good match. I would even say it was very good for parts of it because Shiozaki and Nakajima, obviously they're pretty pissed off at Taniguchi and Hino because they got a jump on them at the previous match at Great Voyage in Yokohama. And, they made Shiozaki bleed. And so that leads Shiozaki and Nakajima to jumping them at the start of the match. And, we get trademark great stuff from Shiozaki. Just, he's pissed off. He's got that prideful, arrogant face of his, that beautiful, prideful, arrogant face. And he's just throwing those chops, full force. It's funny because at the start he's throwing them into Taniguchi, and Taniguchi's got the shirt on. And so Shiozaki's not really getting the full impact of his chops. But eventually the shirt comes off, and Nakajima at the time is working over Hino, and Shiozaki just unloads on Taniguchi. And this was basically like your quote-unquote strong style match for the first, basically for the entirety of the match was a quote-unquote strong style match with big chops, big kicks. There were some great exchanges between Hino and Shiozaki, as well as Hino and Nakajima. And Shiozaki and Nakajima also had a great moment, just like they did at the Yokohama match, where they're both sort of teeing off on one person at the same time, Nakajima with his kicks and Shiozaki with his chops. And it's like they're both trying to see almost who can inflict more pain. So Taniguchi's just getting chopped, in his pecs by Shiozaki, and then just getting his his upper back caved in with Nakajima's kicks. And sadly, throughout the match, you've got hooligan shenanigans. So the Hooligans, even though, like the rest of them, even though they got DQ'd in their match earlier on, Cody Hall, Sakamoto, Nagai, they're all on the outside, and, pulling at legs, taking people outside the ring. And we get the most annoying thing ever. We get a ref bump, and it's almost funny. Taniguchi brings out that massive, apparently it was like a Japanese a weapon used in the samurai era or something, and I think it's called like a satsumata or a satsuma or something like that. And he uses that to throw people, throw Shiozaki around and Nakajima around, and he uses the round part of it to put it around their waist while one of them's on the top rope, and then he throws them off just like he did at Great Voyage in Yokohama. And yeah, that sort of stuff really ruined the match for me. I was enjoying it up until that point because Shiozaki, Nakajima, and Hino, they're all stiff as hell, and they all put on a great match. And Taniguchi, he can be solid at times, but he's like a perfect 5 out of 10 wrestler for me. He's just too slow, and he's too focused on, oh, I'm a bad heel, I make people hate me. He's too focused on doing that shit to actually be compelling. But Hooligans retain. What was annoying was Taniguchi got the pin. He got the pin over Shiozaki, I believe. Why? Hino is the shiny new toy. Why not give him the pin here and just continue to build up that team? Because it's a lot more tolerable if Hino looks good at the end of the match, despite all the hooligan shenanigans. But they had the hooligan shenanigans, and then they had Maybach, Taniguchi, get the pin. That was just depressing. After the match, this depresses me to say, but 50 Funky Powers came down and made a challenge. And I'm pretty sure they'd already made a challenge at Great Voyage in Yokohama, which is why it was weird when I heard that Shiozaki and Nakajima were getting a rematch, because another team already challenged right after they lost. But, whatever. Noah, you do your thing. Hey, Noah, you do you. But I'm not really excited for this. Both teams, both this Hooligan Tag Team and 50 Funky Powers, have half the members who I can do without, and half the members who are great on their day. So if we get some exchanges between Yuji Hino and Muhammad Yone, some stiff exchanges, and we get the typical moments from Hino where he's whoa, ironically, satirically, brushing off the strikes from the opponent and then putting his hands behind his back and being come on, give me your best shot. Then that'll be good, especially if Yone lets loose and actually goes hard, throws some stiff kicks and stiff strikes, then it'll be good. But if we get Quiet Storm doing that guttural scream and just running with his he really does run like a toddler, and that's not a short joke. The way he moves around the ring, especially when delivering lariats, he just looks like a toddler. I don't know. And Taniguchi, he can be good on his day. Actually, I won't even say that. He can be acceptable on his day. So maybe this will surprise me, but I'm not super excited to this matchup. 50 Funky Powers, I don't know if I've ever given a match of theirs like above 3 stars, like above flat 3 stars, but maybe Hino will bring something out, and maybe Inoue will bring something out. One thing I was going to say, that I made a note in my notes to say, was that I was surprised that they didn't focus on having Hino get the win here in order to potentially build, like, keep him in the minds of the Noah fans as being, the dominant one, the ace of the Hooligans team, because I thought that this would naturally lead to Hino challenging Kiyomiya for the title at some point. Because, it just makes sense, because there's this big bad stable that's, fucking everything up for the rest of the Noah show. And at the same time, you've got the young champion who's, imbued with the spirit of Misawa and all that story, which, I'm into. And it would just make sense to build up Hino as this, this outsider monster who's coming in and ruining Noah shows, and then have Kiyomiya be the one to rather quickly vanquish him. Quickly, as in, within 3 months. You don't want this to become like the Suzuki-gun invasion angle, where there was really no real payoff until like the end of 2016. But this is a really good moment to capitalize on the idea of Kiyomiya being Noah's second coming of Misawa, the guy to reignite the Noah spirit. You just build up Hino, have Hino be the one who's dominant in these hooligan matches, and then have Kiyomiya be the one to defeat him at some maybe it's just a Korakuen Hall title match, but you could probably do that on a bigger show, like maybe the like a first of the Great Voyage in Yokohama shows in like March or April or whenever they do them. Is it Yokohama they do early in the year? I feel like it's Yokohama. Anyways, the match was decent, three stars, and not really looking forward to the next match, but we'll see how it goes. The next title match, for the tag team titles, that is, because this next match that I'm going to review, this was very good. This was Kiyomiya versus Keno, and I'll just check on Cage Match. I'm not gonna refer to Grapple, because who cares about Grapple? On Cage Match, this currently has an 8.8 rating from the Cage Match users, and I always feel weird with the matches, like the big matches that Noah gets recognition for, because some of them will be fantastic, and deserve their high ratings from other people, like the Sugiura versus Shiozaki match from last year. But then there are other matches they have where, they're good, but I don't understand the high ratings, because this match, Kiyomiya defending against Keno, obviously there's the history between the two of them, where Kiyomiya was the wrestler who triumphantly returned from excursion at the end of 2017 and challenged the newly crowned Keno, Keno, who had just won the title that very day. But obviously Kiyomiya didn't end up winning, but he gave a good performance. And this time around, it was Kiyomiya who had just won his first GHC title, and it was Keno who came out immediately afterwards and challenged him. And so they're having a rematch exactly 1 year later. I think their first match was also on the 6th of January last year. And I honestly thought that both matches were about the same in quality. One thing that I put in my notes was that I wasn't prepared to see Keno's hair all slicked back, because I see his hair slicked back, and my mind just treats that slicked back hair as still being a fringe for some reason. I picture that slicked back hair as actually just being like a fringe that had been cut to the halfway point or something. So yeah, that was pretty jarring. I had to go through a bit of therapy to get used to that new look, but I think that the issue is that, oh god, now we've gone from going into the wrestler's history before I review a match to talking just about their appearance. But it'll be quick. I'll get it over with quickly. Keno needs to cut his hair even shorter if he wants to slick it back, okay? That's my recommendation, because throughout this match, as his hair got sweaty and as he was thrown around, his hair sort of came out of its slicked back style. And it just looks sort of silly, like he had a bit of clown hair. So, Keno, if you're listening to this, if you've put up with my podcast thus far, Keno, just cut your hair a bit shorter, then you can slick it back more easily. Anyways, this match, this was like a typical sort of... Actually, I shouldn't say typical, because this wasn't a Noah main event that went 30 plus minutes, but it was a typical, I guess, modern-day Japanese main title main event match, because it had the slow first half, nothing like New Japan, where they basically... Not that this is bad, but that they dedicate like the opening 10 to 20 minutes to slow stuff. But this had like the slow opening stuff where like you've got both men going 50-50 on grapples. Your mileage will vary on whether you'll enjoy this. Like I enjoy the work of both Kiyomiya and Hino, so I was into the 50-50 stuff, and the match sort of picked up like quickly, and by pick up I mean it went away from the bland sort of grappling exchanges. It was interesting to see Kiyomiya. He took Hino to the outside early on, and I thought they would play up the idea of Kiyomiya still being the young guy, the new champ to the scene, of him being the one who's worked over and having to heroically come back at the end. But they actually had him go pretty strong right away. He took Hino to the outside, threw him into the crowd, and actually hit the tiger drop, as the announcers call it. That Misawa move that he hits, where he just hits that flipping senton. I guess you call it a swanton, or is it still a senton? Anyways, he hits the move where he flips and his back hits the opponent. He hit that over the guardrail, and that was pretty cool. It didn't get great impact, but it was cool to see the effort put into that. And the rest of the match was pretty good. We had Kiyomiya, like he gets eventually worn down by Keno, and Keno is an interesting guy to watch when he's in control, because Keno has what I call resting prick face. The idea for women is they have resting bitch face. Well, Keno is the guy, he has resting prick face, where he just comes out and he just looks pissed off. It doesn't look like anything's going to brighten up his day. Even if he won the title, I'd still imagine he's going to be pissed off, and still have a few words to say to the crowd to let them know that he's not happy with them. Something they've done has ruined his day, and he's going to let them know. And so once he's finally in control, it's compelling to watch him work Kiyomiya over, because Keno's already got the idea down that he looks pissed off, and he's got the offense to follow that through. So it's compelling. You just see a guy who's pissed off and just letting that offense out. And Kiyomiya, he sells quite well. Sometimes he goes a bit melodramatic with the yelling, but he's mostly pretty good. And, that's what the middle part of this match became. At one point, while Keno was working over Kiyomiya on the outside, he stares down Marufuji, who's on commentary, and like sometimes Keno will do this, or sometimes wrestlers will do this, where there's some wrestler that they see during the match who's not in the match that they have a bit of a history with, and Keno stares Marufuji down. But I can't think, like, is there any immediate history that Keno has with Marufuji? So like, if so, is this leading to something? Is this going to lead to a match when Marufuji's back? Or is that just a random little thing? Was that just Keno being in character, being like, oh, my character is that I'm pissed off and angry and blah, blah, blah. What would I do in this situation? Oh, there's Marufuji, the company's most beloved wrestler. Let me stare him down. Anyway, so that was just a little thing I noticed. I'd be interested in seeing a program between those two, because if Marufuji's on his day, that'd probably be pretty great. So yeah, Keno continued working over Kiyomiya, but eventually Kiyomiya makes his passionate youngster like heartwarming, eyes shining comeback, and it's pretty compelling. I keep using the word compelling. It's what's another way I can say it? It's not inspirational. It's not intriguing. Anyways, it was good. That's the word I'll use. It was good. Obviously, this is when Kiyomiya really calls upon like the spirit of Misawa. He starts bringing out the moves that are more, not like aerial based, but more speedy. He uses a lot more moves that are like rope rebounds or off the top rope, and that's the sort of stuff that really made Misawa stand out, because Misawa was the second Tiger Mask, but when he became Mitsuharu Misawa in the ring, he still kept a lot of those flying based moves, and that was what made Misawa at the time so interesting, because here's this guy that can throw a vicious elbow and like a solid suplex, but he also had like these flying moves that made him so interesting. And another thing about Kiyomiya that makes him offense wise interesting is he still sort of fights like a young lion, and I don't necessarily mean just that it's not like he's improved since graduating from being a young lion, because obviously he has, but he still sort of has that sense where like he throws those typical forearms, and he still does the typical yelling after each forearm that we even see on the earlier in the card from Kinya Okada and Yoshiki Inamura, and I actually enjoy that, because it's almost like it's playing up and trying to really bring focus to the idea that he really is still a youngster. He's this crazy prodigy, this Noah prodigy, who's the youngest ever Global League winner and the youngest ever GHC heavyweight title winner. And so they're playing that up by focusing on how he is still technically a young lion who's still got these only very recently crafted basics who are, he's still at the absolute start of his career, and so that sort of really works well with Hino, who's this old, not old guy, but older guy, stiff fighter, really pissed off. It's like he's almost, what would I say? It's like Hino's like 50 and he's already lived like a full life and he's already pissed off with people, and that's why, even though he's so young, you know what I'm saying? It's like he's lived already, and he's got so much pent up rage, even though he's only like mid 30 or something. And anyways, we get some more great Misawa tribute spots. Kiyomiya brings out the elbows. I always pop whenever he goes and like delivers multiple elbows at the start, because I'm in like one flurry, because I'm like, oh yes, this is just like Misawa in 92. And he also does like the typical the tiger, I think they call it the tiger drop spot, where he flips over the ropes and then hits the senton. I actually think they probably rely on that move a bit too much. It's like they're really being like, hey look, Kiyomiya is basically Misawa, isn't he? Do you get this, fans? Like, they really hit you over the head with that, but I still enjoy it. And one thing that I really enjoy that they've introduced, I think recently, or maybe it's just because I haven't been watching too closely during the middle of 2018, but is the face lock. Misawa's patent face lock, where usually for Misawa, his opponents would be, seated butt down with their legs out, but with Kiyomiya, he sort of locks it on whatever angle he can get. And that's cool to see. It's just another little weapon in his arsenal to appeal to the older fans, and also the newer fans who care about the Noah stuff, care about the spirit of Noah and Misawa continuing on. And Kiyomiya, like near the end of the match where he's pulling out these Misawa spots, he's really getting into it. He's doing the typical young lion screams, but they're not coming across as melodramatic. It really feels like a guy who's just desperate to get over this idea that hey, we're both outsiders. We both didn't grow up in Noah at the time of Misawa, but unlike you, Kino, I really value Misawa and Noah and the Noah spirit, and that's why I introduced these Misawa ideas to my offense, because you were the one who first shot me down in my quest to save Noah, quote unquote. And so now I'm going to use all these moves against you, and this is going to prove to you, 1 year on, that Misawa's spirit really does live on, and it lives on in me. And that's my pretentious spiel of the episode. But that really is the entire idea that they're getting across with Kiyomiya, and the fans seem to buy into it, and of course I buy into it. And do I have any other notes? Oh yeah, this is annoying because throughout the Global League and potentially earlier in 2018, when I wasn't following too closely, sorry for that. Kiyomiya has been building up the tiger suplex as his finisher, and he was using that throughout the Global League, and he also used it when he won the title from Segura. And it was annoying because in the Segura match he used it once, but he sort of released it, and Segura fell on his stomach, and then Kiyomiya had to roll him over, and he didn't get a proper pin, and like Segura's shoulder was clearly up, and so that was basically like they ruined a moment to have a big pop for the tiger suplex being kicked out of. But then they did one later in that match, and that got a decent pop, and I was like, okay, it's when Kiyomiya's winning his first title, I guess it's okay to have his finisher kicked out of. But then they did it again here, and that really reminded me that one issue I have with Noah is they don't really protect their finishers. Like, pretty much every big Segura match I've watched since like 2016, I feel like his Olympic slam, his I don't know if he calls it that, but his Olympic slam, I feel like that's been kicked out of like almost every big title match he's had. And I just don't like that. Like, I hate to compare it to New Japan, because then I just come off as like a major New Japan fanboy who's just decided to review other Japanese promotions, which I guess is technically true, even though I have a lot of criticisms about New Japan. Hey, I got it out there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, something about finishes. But yeah, it really annoys me when finishes aren't protected. And again, they have Kiyomiya's tiger suplex get kicked out of. But at least this time, it had led to a nice finish where the tiger suplex is kicked out of, and Kiyomiya's all up in arms. He's like, "Nah, I'm not going to let you go this way." Then he hits like Marufuji. He hits an Emerald Flosion variant. I don't know. It wasn't the pole shift, but it was one where he basically lifted him up in like a suplex, like just like a normal suplex, but then he drops him into the Emerald Flosion, and then he hit one final tiger suplex and managed to put Kino away. I went 3 3/4 on this match. As I said, cage match users have given it a 8.8, and I think that's a bit much. I thought this is a very good match, and obviously I personally buy into the story of Kiyomiya reviving the Noah spirit, but I thought the first half was just a bit like not even slow. Like I wouldn't say it was slow. Like the first few minutes were slow, but the rest of the match wasn't really slow. But I guess a lot of the moments just were lacking slightly. There wasn't enough impact in the general offense, and there weren't enough, I guess, quote unquote big spots. I say quote unquote for a lot of stuff. I guess it's because psychologically I'm afraid of actually like describing something with a proper adjective and then having someone call me out. First of all, no one's going to listen to the show, so I don't need to worry about that. But second of all, I've got to be more confident in myself and in my analysis. Anyways, enough of my random little diatribe there. In the post-match, Kiyomiya gets on the mic, gets politely applauded. He does the typical sort of speech that you'd see from like Misawa and Kobashi in the early few years of Noah, when they'd win and they wouldn't really say much once they got on the mic. They'd just like be very puffed from the match, heavy breathing, and just say like a very few words at a time, sort of like, oh, this was a good match, that sort of stuff. And I guess that's just to put over the idea of the match really being that hard hitting. It always comes across as really awkward to me, and like it just amplifies the silence of the crowd as they're really waiting for Kiyomiya to say something. But anyways, he gets interrupted by Kotoge, of all people, who runs out, does his superhero thing with the arm raised, and he challenges Kiyomiya. But then Kitamiya comes out to challenge Kiyomiya, and apparently, according to translations, he basically calls out Kotoge as being a comedy wrestler, and he's like, no, you're not going to challenge for the title, I'm going to challenge for the title. And apparently now they have a match set for the 20th of January, so it's going to be Kotoge versus Kitamiya, and the winner is going to get to be the next challenger for the GHC heavyweight title match. With regards to that, I would say the better match is probably going to be with Kitamiya against Kiyomiya. God, that's going to be difficult if it is Kitamiya versus Kiyomiya. But yeah, like Kotoge, he would probably give you a very good match, possibly even a great match. But I just worry about his character, like bringing it down. Like I feel like he's going to be running out of the ring and going up to the fans and doing his Superman pose, and the fans are probably going to eat it up. But like for someone like me, that's just going to annoy the hell out of me. So I also wouldn't be surprised if they just give this to Kitamiya, because Kitamiya is like a relatively young guy. He's gone through. Like he was he a young lion when he started with Noah? Because he was a Kensuke Office young lion, but I'm not sure if he technically was a young lion when he started with Noah. But he's been loyal to them for so long. Like surely they'd give him a little bit of a push by starting to move him up to the full-time main event scene. Like he's had matches. Like I remember he's had a title match against Nakajima in late 2016, and I feel like he's had matches against Segura and maybe Kino as well. But I feel like he needs to become like a mainstay in the main event scene, especially if he's not going to be in the tag team scene, because it seems like him and Nakajima have like broken up. Like they seem to have some beef, I think, from the translations I was reading. So I'd be excited to see what Kitamiya can do in the heavyweight scene. And honestly, that would be a program, like a rivalry, that I would be excited for if that's what Noah was going to focus on. Kitamiya versus Kiyomiya. Because Kitamiya, he doesn't really have like a particular style that stands out, but he comes across just as like a general bruiser. Like I always say his energy is infectious. Like when someone's just chopping or striking away at him and he just does that little that sort of scream and just hypes himself up, especially when he locks on that like leg lock. It's just he's really enjoyable to watch. He's very different from Kiyomiya's style, but I think that would lead to like some really interesting matchups. And yeah, I think Kitamiya is the one that deserves this chance. Just give him a chance to main event like a big show, like a Great Voyage show. That'd be really cool. So I guess I'll just finish this off by giving my general thoughts of the show. I feel like it's a bit too like lame if I just give it like a number rating. Like I feel like that's what like real amateurs who don't even realize how amateur they are do when they're like first starting like a review channel or a review show. But you know what? Maybe that's me. Maybe I am just a full-on amateur, because I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead. No, actually, I will go ahead and give this a rating. It was a 6 out of 10, which is pretty similar to what I give a lot of Noah shows. Honestly, like Noah sort of fluctuates between for their decent shows, like not for the Kurikan sort of shows where they're only getting like 700 people, but for the shows where they really try put on like at least a half decent card, they usually get like a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10 from me. And that doesn't mean I'm not a Noah fan, because I am, but it's just so much of the card is either forgettable or disappointing. Like if you look at this card, we'll just go through this card in entirety. So you got the young lion matches. They're decent, but forgettable. You've got high 69 and Minoru versus Kotoge and Inoue. That was like enjoyable if you enjoy the wrestlers themselves, but not really a good match. You had the backbreakers versus Miyawaki and Morohashi. That was okay, but it was more interesting because it got to set up a potential for a title match. Obviously, I enjoyed Miyawaki and Morohashi, but they're not like big, they're not big match wrestlers, like what I would argue Ohara and Kamano are. Then you had 50 Funky Powers and Saito versus the Hooligans, which was a 5-minute DQ finish, which was a total dud. The junior 6-man, that was decent, and it was also fun because I enjoy all the wrestlers involved, especially all the different styles they all bring, and I'm excited because Yohei, I can't remember if I mentioned this when I was reviewing the match, but Yohei defeats Harada, so obviously he gets to set up a challenge there, and it was funny because you think like Ogawa seemed to have challenged at the Great Voyage show. I'm doing a wrap up here, but then I'm going more into analysis of a match I've already talked about. Ogawa challenged Harada at the time, but then that was when Yohei attacked, so maybe that was all planned. Like Yohei was like, hey Ogawa, can you go up after the match and just pretend to challenge Harada if he wins, I should say, and then I'll use that opportunity to sideswipe everyone and take them out. There's got to be a weird conversation to have in kayfabe. But anyways, that was a decent match, but it still wasn't anything to really go out of your way to see. It was 2 3/4 stars, The tag team title match, I would honestly recommend that, even though I hated all of the Hooligans interference stuff, because that always brought a halt to what was otherwise a really well worked, stiff, quote unquote strong style match. That was decent if you enjoy Shiozaki and Nakajima and Hino, and if you're a Noah fan, surely you enjoy all of these wrestlers. Taniguchi also wasn't that bad in this match, so you can get by with that. And then the heavyweight match was obviously the saving grace. It was the first properly good match, I'd say. Kiyomiya defending against Keno. I wouldn't say it was as great as everyone said, but it was a good match. So what do we have? We've got one match that I'd technically consider good. We've got 3 matches maybe that I'd say are decent. That you're not gonna hate if you watch, but this was really only a 1-match card, and that's really disappointing. But it doesn't people didn't seem to have thought that, because Noah managed to draw, according to Cage Match, 1,577 fans. And regardless of what I thought of the show, I'm always glad to see Noah get good attendance records, because during 2017 and 2018, there were times when they'd run a Korakuen and they'd get 700 fans, and that's just so depressing, especially knowing how they used to be running the Budokan. What happened to Keno's promise that he'd bring us back to the Budokan? Ended up being New Japan that did that. You got to get on that, Keno. But good show. But like most Noah shows, it wasn't anything special. I don't know if in the last 2 years I've been following Noah, if I've actually seen a great Noah show. It's usually always been that junior match was great, or that heavyweight main event was great, but it's never been a great show. But I'm looking forward to following Noah more closely in 2019. I even went out of my way to watch their Christmas show. What do they call it? Noah Full Gift, something like that. And look, if you've got not even 2 hours, if you've got 10 minutes to spare to just run scrub through that show, just going from skipping every 10 seconds and seeing what's what, then you should definitely do that, because as sad as it is to say, that show overall was more entertaining than this Noah show, because at least with that you get a crazy 20 or 30 man battle royale, and everyone's coming out in crazy costumes. Kiyomiya's dressing up as in the full kimono as a woman. Segura came out as a bloody gorilla with bananas. Shiozaki came out as a man on a mission, or man with a mission, whatever that Japanese band is, with the wolf head. Kotoge came out as Freddie Mercury, and get this, Cody Hall came out as Jesus Christ. And there was an amazing spot which I died at, where he's playing up the whole "I am Christ, I'm so peaceful, I'm blessing all of you," and he's in hands in the prayer position, being all nice and kindly to everyone, and then all of the wrestlers in the ring jump up and start beating him down, and the crowd just starts booing. They're enjoying it, but they're "Oh, boo, you're beating up Jesus." Anyway, it's so sad once I realize I say this, because it's like that show overall was more enjoying than this Noah show, because this Noah show had some good matches, but like only like if I had to measure matches that made me smile, there were maybe two. Like that Noah match. I mean, sorry, the Noah match and Noah, surprising. The junior match, the 6-man junior match, and the main event. And the GHC tag team title match, it was a good match, but it didn't make me smile because I was just so annoyed with all the Hooligans interference. You know? Like, when is Noah going to learn that doing all these invasion angles is just going to wear away at fans' patience? Like, they didn't learn with the Suzuki-gun, history, so I guess they haven't. Like, can you really call this an invasion though? I guess you can, because they brought in Kazuma Sakamoto and Hino as more than just like random appearances, like one-off appearances. They're actually having them consecutively appear in shows. So I guess you can technically consider it an invasion. And how long has Nagai even been there in Cody? They couldn't have been there for more than like 2 years. Let me go on Cage Match and let me see how long. How long has Nagai been with Noah? So he's only been there since 2017. So I guess technically you could consider this an invasion stable. But anyways, let's hope that we get my idea where Kiyomiya is the one to get rid of Hino, and hopefully that leads to a lot of the blocks falling down, and Hooligans eventually either stops doing their typical invasion shit, or they actually get better. It's more likely that they get better members introduced than that they as a whole get better. Anyways, that is my review of Noah's, let me get this title right. This is my review of Noah's Navigation for the Future 2019, Day 1. I'm not sure what I'm going to review next. Not that it really matters, because no one really listens to this, but just for my own interest, I'm wondering what I'm going to review next. I know that I'm definitely going to do a preview for the New Beginning shows for New Japan, but I also want to review Dragon Gate's shows, because they're doing like a rookie tournament at the moment. There was actually a show tonight that I didn't see, so I want to review that, because I recently got Dragon Gate Network. There's also a Big Japan show that's meant to be airing at some point. There's also a 01 show which I might do. Like, I very rarely ever watch 01. I believe there's also those All Japan New Year's War shows, but I feel like it's been too long since they've been out for me to review them, so I'm not sure on that end. But yeah, just keep focused on the channel. If you just search Pure Grade Puroresu on YouTube, that's probably the easiest way to follow me at the moment. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with the various podcatchers. I'm thinking of going fully on Podbean, and then I think I'm just going to focus on trying to get the show on all the major podcast catchers, whatever you call them. So I'm going to focus on that in the next coming weeks. My voice is pretty sore once again. Only did an hour today, but yeah, my voice hurts like shit. So I'm going to end this here. Thanks for listening, if you've been listening. Yeah, have a good day. Peace.